feel like I'm forgetting something, but I probably am not.
What are you forgetting? What are you forgetting? Abby, what's wrong?
I forgot to say I love you. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Wow, that's so special. Hi, welcome to Media Mumbles. I'm Julia, an English major.
And I'm Abby, and I'm a film student. Hi!
A film student. She's excited.
Hey kids, I'm a film student.
I'm not as excited, I guess, about being an English major as Abby is about being a film student. That's not true. I love being an English major. But welcome back to Media Mumbles. This is a podcast where we discuss, analyze, chat about, just generally hang out with media that we enjoy and we like to play and to watch and to read and to all of those fun things. We are now in our last week of games for the next little bit. Next week we will be moving on to a yet to be decided next topic. So it'll be one of the other ones. It'll be either like books, movies, music, TV shows, something like that. We do want to, not in this time, but just in every time, but especially right now, we want to be able to focus on a media where we can focus on Black creators.
Creators and artists and minds.
Yes, exactly. So whatever it's going to be, we're probably going to highlight some Black creators who are incredible and wonderful, and we love their work. So look out for that next week. Unfortunately, I did plan this before that, so this is not that, but Black Lives Matter, ACAB, we are standing with you. I understand that I do not understand, but I stand with you. So this week I will be talking about Oxenfree.
Ollie Ollie Oxenfree. I don't know this game pretty much at all. So this is going to be a fun time.
But anyways, the regular spoiler warning is included.
But, Julia, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I spiced it up because I knew you were going to ask. So I do have just my regular water, but I put lemon juice in it.
Lemon juice. So fancy.
It's like lemonade, but without sugar. It's got enough lemon juice in there that I can taste just a lot of lemon.
Well, I have actual lemonade with lots of sugar that I made myself. It's got a whole squeezed lemon in it, which isn't a lot because this is a very big glass that I know you can't see. But it's like kind of a lemon lemonade type thing because I squeezed a whole lemon, but then I used fake lime juice for the rest, and it's very sour. I don't know why this... Like, I like really sour lemonade, but that probably wasn't a good idea because that makes you go very, like, just bad mouth sounds.
Just going to be a lot of lip smacking in this episode.
But what are you consuming?
What am I consuming? So, I've been watching a lot of documentaries and reading a lot of books and stuff lately. And one documentary that I would like to highlight is The Life and Death of Marsha P. Johnson.
Yeah.
So as we are in Pride Month and in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, I wanted to watch this documentary that was about Marsha P. Johnson, who was a figure who was in the center of the Stonewall riots and who basically was like one of the main people who started the move for the gay rights movement. And she's just such a inspiring person, and I didn't really know tons about her until I watched this documentary, and it kind of investigates like the events surrounding her death because the police at the time just labeled it a suicide, but all of her friends and everyone around her was like, that's not right. So this I can't remember their name, but this like activist at the anti-LGBTQ violence foundation in New York City was just going around interviewing Marsha's friends and like going on their experience and finding out more information to just kind of get the case kind of looked at a little bit more. And in that, it was a lot of looking into Marsha's life and how she was such a kind person, and she started the Star House for like homeless trans youth. She'd just like give away her possessions whenever anyone was like, I liked your scarf. She'd be like, here, honey, take it, and just like give them her scarf. And she was just such an incredible person, and I felt like it was really important to look towards like the roots of the LGBT movement as Pride Month is upon us now. So yeah, I would highly, highly recommend that documentary. It was really, really insightful. It was very good. I liked it a lot.
Very good. Mine's also a documentary, and I feel like the last 3 weeks, all of ours have been the same medium, which is fun, but that is okay. Mine was 13th, which is about the current prison system in America is basically just evolved slavery. And I think it's a really good crash course for especially white people to just kind of inform yourself on just how, first of all, bad things are and how you yourself have kind of like benefited. I tried to get a lot of my family to watch it, trying to educate my white people family members, as I know they most likely won't get it from anyone else. So, but yeah, it's really good. It's kind of a hard watch.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good, and I felt much more informed after watching it.
Yeah, it's an extremely informative documentary. It's Ava DuVernay, who's like such a good director. She did that one. It's just like I knew, like, just from, being generally informed about stuff, I guess, like about like the prison system and mass incarceration and stuff, but I had like no idea like the depths that it went in. Like, this was specifically America, but like it's in Canada too. With ours, a lot of the problems are also for Indigenous people, because they incredibly overrepresent the prison systems here. But yeah, it's just how the little loophole in the 13th Amendment just allowed a lot of racism to carry over, because they were like, how are we gonna have an economy when we don't have slave labor anymore? I know, by making like criminals quote unquote.
Yeah, I also felt like I kind of knew the story, but it's really helpful to have like a put together timeline for you, so like you kind of can see the bigger picture. And also having like hard facts and like quotes from politicians and people who put these policies in place, being like, oh yeah, we know what we were doing, we knew it was bad, it was this. So it's kind of like there's no wiggle room for you. Ooh, I feel like I should plug that deal thing we were talking about earlier. There's Polygon posted about on their Twitter for like a minimum $5 donation, but if you can do more, you very much should do more.
It's just on like itch.io. It's like a collaboration between like over 500 independent creators to make like a bundle of over 740 games or something like that.
Last I checked, the deal is good for 8 days still, so should be still up by the time I edit this and get it out.
Yeah, because we're recording this on Sunday the 7th.
A bit later than we usually would.
Yeah, but on Wednesday when this comes out, the deal should still be up, considering that Wednesday is less than 8 days away. And Oxenfree is actually part of that bundle. So,
segue!
Yeah. For a minimum $5 donation, you can get Oxenfree.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $10 on the Nintendo store, so...
Not bad.
Yeah, but that's an even better deal. And
it
all
is
of
better.
The proceeds go towards amazing causes. So
yes,
definitely check that out. And I will put the link to that in the episode description.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, Oxenfree.
Oxenfree.
Oxenfree. Oxenfree is a story-based dialogue and choice game created by cousins Sean Krenkel and Adam Hines under their company Night School Studio. It was released in 2016 to positive reviews, and the name Oxenfree comes from their years of hide and seek, because like Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, But the origin, as stated by them, can either come from the German phrase, which is alle Oxenfree, which loosely translates to everyone is free, or all ye Oxenfree, which is essentially saying it is safe to come in. And their studio was founded in 2014 because Sean and Adam had long wanted to collaborate on a video game together. Adam Hines had worked previously at Telltale Games, and Sean had previously worked at Disney. But they were most interested in creating a game that told its story in a unique way, which is what they really ended up doing. I think it's not the most complicated game in the world, but there's a lot of really unique little elements that are part of it that I think make it like a really fun gaming experience. Ooh. It's like exactly what I want from a game, which isn't saying that it'll be what everyone wants from a game, because what I want from a game is like...
Is it very dialogue heavy?
It is literally just dialogue, basically.
Cool.
Yes, it is very dialogue heavy. I just love that. It's a very good story. In the game Oxenfree, you play as Alex, who is a teenage girl going to an overnight party on the beach of a nearby tourist hub just outside her hometown called Edwards Island. So it's like all the cool hip teens every year go out to the islands to like get drunk on the beach, and they're headed out there on the ferry. And she's accompanied by her best friend Ren and her stepbrother Jonas, who she had just met that night. So this is their first time meeting. They're going out to this party. And the reason they had just met is because Alex's mother had just gotten remarried. Her parents separated like a while before because her older brother Michael passed away, and they just didn't know how to handle staying together after their child had died, so they separated. Yeah, and once on the island, they meet up with Clarissa, who is she was Michael's girlfriend at the time of his death, and she kind of blames Alex for him dying because... Oh boy. Yeah, the way he died was they went out swimming and he drowned and she couldn't save him. She just kind of had to they don't go into the exact circumstances because you don't need to, but yeah, they, so she just kind of had to watch, and she couldn't do anything while he died, so she kind of holds a grudge, and that's really evident within the game's dialogue, because literally everything Clarissa says to you is, hostile and horrible, and then all the dialogue choices you have back to Clarissa are basically, just as hostile. There's just a lot of hostility between that. Anyways.
A lot of bad vibes.
It's a little bit of a bad vibe with that, yes. And then there's also Nona, who is Clarissa's best friend and the girl that Ren has a crush on. So after a little bit of partying on the beach and some truth or dare, or no, it's not truth or dare, they call it truth or slap, which is so you can ask anyone a question. They have to tell the truth, and if you think they're lying, you can slap them. So
ideal.
It is an ideal game, you are right. That's basically what we play when we go to bonfires, because no one wants to do the dares, so I'll just give me a truth. Give me a truth, I don't want to get up.
Round of truth, and especially when we use the weird apps or whatever, most of the time they're like, who do you have a crush on type middle school stuff. It's very weird. It's who have you cheated on?
Yeah, and then it's all the ones that could be fun just end up with people who are in relationships with other people who are already there, and it's kiss someone in the circle, and they just kiss their girlfriend. I'm okay, that's not fun. Kiss someone else. You're boring. Anyways, so that kind of vibe, teenage party vibe.
Yeah, our teenagehood was crazy, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, we were the most rebellious and rambunctious party teens. I've definitely never been to a party. Yeah.
Did so much cocaine all the time.
It's I have been to parties, and I did drink underage, and I snuck out, and I was just crazy, man. I've never really done anything in my life.
Yeah, now all we do is try to dismantle the government, which is, boring.
You know what? Amen. We saved all of our rebellion for the uprising that is now coming upon us. So, after a bit of partying, Jonas, Ren, and Alex head off to the caves, which are a big staple of this island. They're a place that a lot of teenagers in their area like to go to, because if you stand in the right spot and you bring a portable radio, you can apparently tune your radio to stations that don't exist. Ooh. So Alex has a little handheld radio that Ren told her to bring, and they stand in front of the cavern, and she starts to tune it, and like there starts to be this glowing light in the depths of the cavern. So while Ren stays out because he ate a pot brownie, Jonas and Alex go into the caves to explore a little bit more and use the radio more, and they accidentally open kind of like a dimensional rift, which sends them, all of the 5 of them, sprawled across the island. Jonas and Alex are together, but everyone else is kind of separate, and no one really knows what's happening or what's going on. You're still playing as Alex. You're Alex the whole game. And you're with Jonas up on the communications tower, and Ren is over in like a shack in the woods that's also a communications port, and Nona's nowhere to be found. Clarissa is stuck at an old army base, so it's just like you have to find everyone, and as you are going through all these things, they encounter a lot of different weird kind of spooky supernatural stuff. So they want to find their way back to the mainland, and they'll on the way encounter a decades-long mystery, a government cover-up, and a lot of weird supernatural anomalies like time loops that can be solved with the winding of a tape player, triangle rifts that speak in recorded voices, and lost spirits trapped in time.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting story that the game has, because like even on top of the story, there's a lot of cool like supernatural elements. Like throughout it, there's a lot of little time loops that you go through. So you'll walk through an area and have like a line of dialogue with Jonas, and then the game will like ripple. It'll have like a distorted effect, and you'll end up back where you just were, and Jonas will say the same dialogue he said at the beginning, and you're like, oh, Jonas, we're stuck in a time loop. And he's like, oh, really? So you have to kind of figure out what's going on. And so the main kind of story in here, like the mystery that they're kind of solving, is there was this woman named Maggie Adler, and she was the only resident left on the island. The only thing it had really been used for before was it was like a mining town, and then it was like a U.S. Army base for a while. And so anyways, Maggie lives on the island, and she had died like 3 days before this party was happening. So they're kind of, yeah, she had did. Like she is dead. That is true, in fact. But actually, she was involved in the army base in a little bit of a way, because she was a communications person, like in the towers, and she misheard a direction, and there was a mishap with some friendly fire, and her mistake ended up killing a submarine called the USS Kanaloa, which was full of like, I think like 85 officers and then like 17 passengers.
Spicy.
So, yeah, and
spicy.
This is like a spoiler for literally the end of the game and all that stuff, but you signed up for spoilers and you kept listening. So the reason that all these supernatural things are happening on this island is because those people were not actually killed. There was an experimental reactor on the submarine, and it caused them to get trapped in a rift in time, and they're trying to get free by using the bodies of like mortal people, and Maggie Adler had been staying on the island to kind of try and stop them, but with her death, I guess it kind of let something loose, and now they're trying to do it again with Alex and her friends, and she kind of aggravated them with the tuning of her radio. Yeah.
The plot thickens.
And there are, like, a lot of different ways you can end the game, but they all end with the same thing in a way. Because literally no matter what you do, by the end of the game, you are back on the boat with everyone leaving the island, and Jonas being like, I don't know what you did back there, but whatever it was, we got out of there safely. So you're out of there safely no matter what. And you can either, depending on the choices that you make during the game, you can fight like Clarissa as a ghost, or you can go through a rift and talk to the passengers of the USS Kanaloa. There's like a few different things you can do, but the thing that you affect with your choices is the epilogue at the end of the game.
Oh, I see. That's
yeah.
cool.
There are tons of different paths, because this game is about choice. That's about, like, there are mechanics in the game. Like, basically the mechanics, quote unquote mechanics, are just kind of like choosing which dialogue option you're going to go with when they show up on your screen, and like tuning your radio. And that's about it. Those are like the two actions that you have. But the dialogue that you choose is really, really important, as it is with most dialogue games. So almost everything you can do affects the final way that the game turns out. And there's no true ending for this game, which I think is really cool. Everything is just up to you, so everything goes the way you make it go. There are endings where her brother ends up not dead anymore. There are endings where Jonas and Alex are closer than ever. Endings where no one really trusts her. There's even one where they get a weird radio signal before leaving for the island and decide not to go to it at all. So just nothing happens. That's one of the endings that you can get.
That's like that meme with like the story when whatever happens with the thick book and the thin book. Like like Avatar as it is, and then Avatar if Azula hired Toph. I was like, you're right.
You are correct, in fact.
You're correct.
That's really funny. You are correct. Yeah, so the big thing is that all those endings come because of your choices. Like, who will you choose to go with you when you're going down to find Maggie Adler's keys? Like, who are you going to go with on this quest? Like, are you going to be mean to Jonas, or are you going to be nice to Jonas? Like, there's an option where you can, like, sacrifice Clarissa to the rift to, like, save everyone else, and then no one remembers her except you, and she just ceases to exist. And that's one of the endings. So, literally everything you do influences, like, everything that happens. And this game isn't very long. I think it took me about 3 hours to get through it both times that I played. So getting all those endings and finding all the little secrets and like the time loop element of it is really kind of what makes it, you know, worth the playing. Because at the end of the epilogue, whichever one you get, there will be the sound of static, and then you will hear Alex's voice saying that she has to go pick up her new stepbrother to go to the party on Edward's Island. So once it ends, it resets, because there are time loops within the gameplay that you have, but the entire game itself is a time loop. So she's just going to keep reliving the same night on Edward's Island over and over and over again until you choose to stop playing the game.
That's fun. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. Would you like to hear all the possible endings that you can get?
Yes.
Okay. So there's one where Clarissa's friendship with Alex and Michael can either be preserved or destroyed. Clarissa can also be sacrificed to the rift, no one remembering Clarissa except Alex herself. If she is saved, she will either drop out of school or continue her studies. Ren will either date or not date Nona, depending on Alex's actions. Nona goes to ballet school and may or may not be in a long-distance relationship with Ren. Jonas's relationship with Alex can either be preserved or destroyed. Michael can be revived if Alex encourages him to not move away in the time loop. If so, Jonas and Alex will cease to be step-siblings. The player's actions can either destroy or preserve Michael's relationship with Clarissa. So, any of those things can be included in the ending that you get. It's like you get a story of how all the characters are doing after you left Edward's Island, and literally any of those combinations can happen.
That's wild.
Yeah, there are people who spend tons and tons of time on this game trying to get the perfect ending through all of the little things they do, which I'm kind of trying to do, because everything I do, I just make like one stupid move, and then it's like one person's mad at you.
Yeah, I was interested in that because you messaged me the one time being like, I accidentally clicked the wrong thing, and I was like, oh, geez, like, can you, like, restart the game or something, or, like, do something to fix it? And you're like, oh, no, it's fine. I can just kind of, like, keep playing, because that's the point of the game. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, because at one point when I was going to get, I think, Maggie Adler's keys, you can choose who you take to go with you, because Ren is mad at Jonas because he thinks that he's like this new dude coming in and like stealing his best friend away by being her stepbrother, and then Jonas is mad at Ren because he's like he ate 2 weed brownies and was being very paranoid, and he's like, you cannot help because you are very high, my guy. And I was like, okay, so to diffuse the tension, I will choose Nona to go with me because she was there too. And the last time I had chosen Jonas, and then at the end of the game, it was like me and Ren drifted apart. Like, he was my best friend and now I don't talk to him. And I was like, okay, well, maybe by doing this, I can keep both of those friendships. And then both of them were mad because they're like, you, fine, don't choose a side then. I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry that I chose Nona. But it was kind of good after all, because then she was like, it's my birthday in a few days and I want you to come with me. And we were like talking about how like Alex and her had never been close friends, but they kind of wanted to get closer. And it was really nice. So I haven't finished like my current playthrough that I'm on. The endings that I've gotten are pretty good, but I want to try and see if I can get the one where it's like, Michael is alive, and everyone's happy, and everything's good, and all of it is good, because I really would like to get the perfect ending. But some people say that no ending is perfect, because, like, you just have to do it again. She'll always be stuck in that time loop. I saw one guy saying that his idea of the perfect ending is the one where they get the message to never go to the island, because then they're not like stuck in that loop anymore. But even with that, it's like there's another version of the thing that's happening, because there's multiple dimensions in this game. So there's always going to be someone stuck on that island, you know?
Right. That reminds me of, I obviously never, since I'm not good with horror, but the Black Mirror game thing, Bandersnatch or whatever, like people were saying like, oh, I finally got the good ending, but you had to keep playing, like you couldn't just stop, like there was always more things you could do after that until eventually things degrade, which I found interesting. I never understood, I obviously didn't do it, but does Netflix have like a choose your own adventure, or is it a website? Like, how do people interact with it?
It's okay, so I didn't do Bandersnatch, but I played Minecraft Story Mode, which is also a choose your own adventure, because I am the way that I am. So it's just kind of like while you're watching in your Netflix browser, like 2 options will come up and you click it with your mouse, and then it plays like the next section that they recorded.
So it is within
corresponds
Netflix.
With that. Yeah, it is within Netflix.
Okay. All right. That's wild.
I would recommend Minecraft Story Mode, by the way.
So my one coworker was talking to me the other day, and he recommended Minecraft Dungeons, and I'm like actually kind of considering it.
Oh, I really would love to play Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, it looks
sick.
fun. Some of that kind of like game meta narrative type thing, that also kind of plays out in Undertale, really interests me, because like in Undertale, it's not so much of like the never-ending loop type thing. Like you can get an ending, and it is a good or decidedly bad ending. Like Sans obviously still mentions the fact that there are other versions playing out, and like the fact that it can like see into your game files or whatever. Like if you've ever done the genocide run, he's like, I see you, I know what you're about.
I do not forget the things you have done, actually.
Yeah, like I think those kind of things, while they can be used like in a lot of different games, how you use those things to say something within your game.
Toby Fox says you are not a good person even if you restart your game.
But that's the kind of thing that I remember some people kind of complain about Undertale, like people who started playing it like any other video game, and then felt kind of like ripped off when they didn't know that there is a wrong way to play. So I find it interesting that this game, Oxenfree, you just keep on restarting with like nothing you've done in the past has any ramifications on what you do in your current loop.
No, yeah, it's just you just keep going and going and going the same day over and over and over again. For poor Alex and her friends, just going through the same stuff.
Has anyone ever found like not so, I don't know, I guess secret ending, or like a ending that's hard to get, or is it kind of all played out?
Not the endings, but there's like the boss, quote unquote boss battle. You can get like a kind of harder to get ending. Yeah, it's not any type of actual boss battle. I beat it. I thought that I would have to be like proactive about it, so I skipped the dialogue by accident, and then I just beat it really fast, and I was like, oh, whoops, probably should have, like on my first time, I was like, whoops, probably should have done that a little bit better. But throughout the island, you can collect Maggie Adler's letters, and like if you collect all of her letters, you can unlock the ending where you go through the rift and talk to the passengers of the USS Kanaloa to get them to stop doing what they're doing. So that takes a little bit more investigation because you have to go through the game and find all the hidden letters. I don't really do that because I don't care. Eventually I think I will, but I was just like, on like my third playthrough, I was like, I think I'm gonna find all the letters this time. Then I was like, nope, just kidding. I actually don't care about the letters, so I'm not gonna do that. And there's also like these little like stone cairns that are all around the island, and you find them, and then you tune your radio back and forth until like your switch starts like vibrating. I guess yours doesn't do that because you have a light, but it'll start to vibrate, and then you're at the right station, you hold it on there, and then it starts playing like a spooky little hidden message and stuff like that. So you can unlock all those little things throughout it, and that's kind of fun. So
Spoopy.
And with like the tuning of the radio, I think that's one of the most cool things about this game from what I've like noticed. It's like used to do almost everything throughout the game besides you picking the dialogue. Like, she uses that radio to unlock doors that have specific frequencies and to find the little hidden things. Yeah, there's these things and it's like frequency locked doors. So she gets this like special radio that has more frequencies than a normal radio would, and it like you find the specific frequency and it'll unlock the doors of like Maggie Adler's gate and like her front door and these like the secret like bunker that they use to get off the island, like so that's really cool. And another thing about this game that I think is really neat is the way that, because of course it's a dialogue based game, I've said that about 100 times, and I've said about 100 times that I love dialogue based games, but what this game did that's really different is Sean and Adam didn't want to include unskippable cutscenes. So instead, the player continues to move and interact with the NPCs as important information is explained. So exposition just happens as you're playing. Like, you're walking ahead of Jonas, and he's asking you questions as you go. Instead of, like, the game stopping and a cutscene explaining something, you just have to be very proactive that you don't accidentally, like, miss out. Because the dialogue is very natural. It's like you're having actual conversations. Like, it's not stilted or weird, which is very... Thank you for not having weird and stilted dialogue in your game about teenagers. But if you choose the dialogue option too soon, you'll interrupt what other NPCs are saying, and then they'll respond to your question. So you have to be careful to pick and choose which questions you answer, because you don't have to answer dialogue every time. You can choose to not say anything and let people continue talking, but if you find like something is important, you have to interrupt them and say what you're gonna say.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever seen a game do that, where it's like you can interrupt someone. That's fun. Or just like let them ramble on and see what you find.
There's been a lot of times where I would like, I've missed so much important information because I was like, the first time, I'm gonna go off like the first time I was playing because I didn't know anything about it. I know I've played it several times, but like the first time I was playing, I missed like so much important dialogue because I didn't know that you were allowed to just like not talk, because the dialogue option is it's like 3 bubbles pop up above Alex's head, and they, as soon as they pop up, they start to fade away, and once they're faded, you can't choose one, you just saw them and let them go. So I was like, oh no, I can't let these dialogue options fade away, like I have to do this right now. So I would click everything, but I like interrupted Jonas like 1,000,000 times, and I'm like, I probably missed some really important dialogue, but like I just interrupted him by doing that. But it does make sure that if there's something really important that the character needs to say, it'll like save your response for after they've said it. But yeah, for the most part, it's like, are you gonna interrupt your stepbrother and not get this information, or are you gonna let him talk?
Oh my gosh, I feel like that would be such an anxiety-inducing game for me. Like, be good at conversations, or like, you have to interrupt someone if you want to like get information from them. I would just like be watching all those bubbles fade and be like, Yeah, there's no actual mechanics, but there is the need to be a good conversationalist within the dialogue game. See, I got through Celeste without any of the assist mode, but I don't know if I'd be good at this game.
Well, you don't have to be good at it. You can just play it a bunch of times until you get the hang of it. And it's okay.
Therapy.
And they don't get mad at you for interrupting them. They just do different dialogue.
So they got even slightly annoyed at me and be like, that's it, I have to stop playing. I'm a bad person.
Well, I mean, sometimes you like pick a dialogue option and then it's like a lot more mean than it looked in the speech bubble.
Oh my gosh, that is my worst nightmare. Anytime a game's like, say no, and it's like, screw you, I hate you. I'm like, no, that's not what I want.
Yeah, the options are like, sure, okay, and like, no thanks. You click no thanks and it's like, actually, I hate you and your entire family and I never want to talk to you again and you're the worst person alive. Yeah. No.
I hope you die.
That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be aggressive.
Like, oh, no, thank you.
When you make dialogue choices that are like important, your face, like Alex's face, will appear above the head of the other NPCs, so they're like making decisions about you and how they feel about you. And sometimes it's like, I'll do something that I think is like not important, and then my face appears above Jonas's head, and I'm like, what did I just say? What did that make Jonas think of me? Oh,
I get that feeling in real life sometimes. You say something and you're just like, oh. Even if you just like say something like super inconspicuous and like not anything, and then like no one responds, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just said I have to go to the bathroom, but I think I might have accidentally said I want to commit genocide or something. What has happened? Oh my gosh.
It's like I can feel my Sims friendship points decreasing in real life, in real time.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate when you're in The Sims and you're talking to like one of their characters and you're literally being friendly and they're just like, friendship points go down with you. I'm like, what's up with that? Why don't you like me? I don't like to play The Sims normally because I find that so boring. Like, same. I cannot just play The Sims. So one of my favorite things to do is make a character and then like have them find someone random and like make them fall in love with them super fast and then have a baby and then immediately age up the baby to an adult and then have them go out and find someone and then just have like a really, really long family line of like all adults and they're all the same age. And it's just a really long family tree. And that's what I like to do in The Sims. But sometimes I'm trying to romance someone and they're just not into it. I'm like, what about my wonderful advances are you not enjoying?
Why can't I just make you love me?
Just love me in the 5 minutes I've been at this bar.
Yeah. The only thing that I play on Sims, I just like the interior decorating, really, or like making houses and stuff. I have one sim world, and it's just the one house. I spent a really long time, like, with, like, max amount of money or whatever, just making this perfect house. And then I made someone and made her an artist. And I was like, this is good. And then I got pretty much immediately bored.
I like to also, like, turn off all of the, like, need decay. And so she's always perfectly happy or they're always perfectly happy. And then just max out every career.
True. Yes.
I'm like, you never have any needs. All you do is max out your skills for your career. You know you don't need a social life. It's okay. So, Abby.
Yes.
It's time for your favorite topic when it comes to video games.
Okay.
The music.
Yes!
Well, good. For this, I also want to talk about the voice acting because there's really good voice acting in this game. So, Alex is voiced by Aaron Yvette. Jonas is voiced by Gavin Hammond. Ren is voiced by Aaron Kubin. Clarissa is voiced by Avital Ash. Nona is voiced by Brittany Johnson. Michael's voiced by Anthony Lamb. And there's a tour guide radio voice by Joe Ziga. And then there's a bunch of ghost voices. Several ghost voices that are listed
Wish that were
here.
Me. Wish there was nothing but a ghost voice.
Yeah. And Anthony Lamb, like, confused me for a second because he sounds literally exactly like Keith from Voltron.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, hello, is this Keith? It is not Keith. So that's that. But they did such a good job with this game. It really made me feel like I was playing a movie. And even as my dad was watching me play, because when I was playing for the first time, he was really excited to see it. So I was playing on like our big TV. And he was like, this is like, you're literally like, I'm watching you do a movie right now. Like the way that the characters are talking and everything's just kind of playing out and the dialogue and like all the really good voice acting is just like, it's basically like a really good CW show. Like if CW made good shows, that's what it kind of be like, because it is a teen thriller. That's what they like to call it. It's like a teen horror thriller game. So it's kind of like, imagine it's not at all like Riverdale, but kind of like Riverdale, you know?
If Riverdale was any good and
at
not
all.
the most ridiculous thing to ever happen. I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, that is all I can take.
Yeah, I watched the first season because I was like, I kind of want to see where this is going. And then I watched the first episode of the second season. I was like, nope, this is so bad. Anyways, we're moving on now.
Yeah, there's a very specific kind of bad that I can watch. I don't know even know how to describe it. Yeah, I guess. Like, some people consider Bill and Ted a horrible bad movie.
Yeah.
But I think it's wonderful and the best, but...
Because it's campy. They know that it's goofy and they run with the goof. Kind of like The Princess Bride, you know? It's not the best thing ever, but, like, it's just so funny because they know it's funny.
Good,
and they're making it goofy and fun for fun, you know? Or like Monty Python.
Yeah. Just anything that has at least a like sliver of self-awareness, I'm like, okay, good. But something like Riverdale where, oh boy.
Anyways, also in this game, with the little hidden recordings and stuff, they wanted to get like a weird kind of creepy radio vibe, so they recorded all of that through a World War II era radio equipment. So they found like a World War II radio and they're like, this is how we are recording the spooky radio stuff for our video game. Yeah.
Honestly, sound designers are so committed, or like any type of like Foley work person is just the most committed hardcore person ever.
I know. Like, I listened to all the Magnus Archives like bonus stuff, and Alex Newell, he does all the soundscapes for the Magnus Archives, and like listening to how much work that, like, I've never listened to anyone else talk about soundscapes. Like, I follow some Foley artists and stuff, but like he'll put like to like have a door open and close and someone walk out into a hallway, he's like, yeah, that was like 3 hours of work to make it sound realistic.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
I'm like obviously like pretty interested in like sound design type stuff, but when I hear about like all the work, like even just editing this podcast is gonna be a pain sometimes, but I still find it fun. But like I was talking to a second year in my program, and they were like, unless you have nerves of steel, do not go into Foley. Oh my goodness, do not. And we also, oh my gosh, this is really cool. One of my professors for, I forget what the class was called. It's been less than a year. Basically, she was like teaching us how to like find our sources and like make a pitch and all this stuff. But her brother is one of these full-time sound designers for like a bunch of different things. He worked on Dirk Gently, which is cool. He worked on Spirit, which is cool, and a bunch of other stuff. He worked on some other like way bigger things, but I just can't remember the names. But we had this like they Skyped him or whatever into this classroom so we could talk to him. And some of the like he found such specific things so funny, like such a niche humor. We were trying to like find out like what were some of the like biggest pains or whatever being like a sound designer, and he told us that apparently every sound person in Hollywood that like actually knows their stuff has a specific set of band sounds, because there's like this huge sound library that like everyone has access to, basically, like door closing and all these like very generic sounds, and some of them are so overused, like, that no one would ever notice, ever. Like, any normal person, you could hear the same sound in every single movie, you wouldn't notice. It's like, just like a door handle turn or something. But like, to these people, they're like banned sounds. If they hear it in a movie, they're like, this is an awful garbage movie. The people don't know their stuff. They're the worst. I hate this.
That's so funny.
It's just such a niche type of thing, and it fascinates me so much. But I tried to ask him about Dirk Gently because no one else in my class was, and he was like, I was wondering when someone was going to ask me about that. And he was like, I didn't get to talk to Elijah Wood or anything, but I will tell you that it was wild any scene I had to work with, like, the Rowdy Three, because they all scream so much all the time. And it was just so hard. I was like, I thank you for your service. Thank you.
That's so funny. With, like, the Magnus Markers, because that's, like, literally the only, like, point that I have that I know anything about soundscapes, but, like, Johnny, who, like, writes all the scripts, he was like, I was kind of worried when things started going, like, weird in the podcast. He's like, sorry that's gonna be these, like, otherworldly soundscapes. And Alex was like, oh, no, Johnny. Oh, no. Whenever you write that things just go to otherworldly chaos, I cry of, like, happiness, because that means no one knows what this sounds like. So I can put whatever sounds I want into the background. When you want me to go someone, like, walking through a corridor, that's hell, because people know what a corridor sounds like, so it has to sound like perfect.
Incredible. And in games, like we were talking about before, it's so much harder to, like, fade things to sound natural because you're the person doing it. So if you move and it doesn't sound right, that's so obvious.
Yeah. But with the music, the soundtrack, which was composed by Andrew Rorman, also known as Scientific, he didn't create the soundtrack to fit specific times in the game, just to fit themes. So if you go into an area that triggers, like, oh, so this is, like, a darker area of the game, a sound and a soundtrack part that would fit that specific point in time starts playing, and they all kind of fit together really nicely. But it's just, like, I think it's, like, a super cool way to do it. And, like, he said that when 90% of his demos made it into the final soundtrack. Like, he just kind of made them, and then they were all like, yeah, that's sick, dude, we like those. And just, like, put them in and, like, fit the moods really well.
One for one.
Yeah. Even though I loved the soundtrack, I've listened to it a bunch on Spotify, and, like, I was listening to it while I was researching and writing and stuff. It is not on my mother's list of video game music that she likes and thinks is common.
Doesn't pass the Vanessa test.
No, it does not. When I was playing it, she was like, what is that awful sound? I'm like, shut up, Mom. It's a good soundtrack. But it's kind of like, they wanted it to be a mixture of kind of like digital and analog and, like, not fit any specific time. So it's, like, kind of just, like, it reminds me a little bit of just, like, not like lo-fi, but buzzing, like, sounds. Like, maybe you could fade in some music here.
Sure.
As just an example.
Okay. Fade music. Here.
Yeah, so it's that kind of, like, weird synthy vibe that goes on, and it's kind of like a
echoey, hollow voices and stuff.
The best way I could describe it is kind of like a Stranger Things vibe.
Right.
Stranger Things
vibe.
That's,
you could have just said that. We all know what that is.
Well, I want to put music in here. I want to make you put music
I will
into
put.
our podcast.
I'll do that. Last week was the second time I uploaded the podcast to our drive or whatever for you to put up, and I immediately was like, wait, no, I messed up. And I had to put in the Celeste's soundtrack. It's wild to me, the podcasts that have music through, like, the whole thing. Which,
there are podcasts that do that?
Yeah, usually, like, shorter ones, like Vox, most of it has music, but they have their own sound designer that, like, makes it for specific things. It's really good. Yeah. They actually did, like, a full episode. For some reason, this Vox News podcast just has such bangers. It's incredible.
Bangers, bops, and jams on this news podcast.
Correct.
Yeah, but Abby, I think you should play this game so you know more
I probably
about it.
will, because I'm gonna donate.
Yes, and everyone else should donate too.
Correct.
$5 or more. If you can give more, please give more. But it's minimum $5. for like $3,000 worth of games. Like, why would you not do it?
Oxenfree, Overland, Art School. Art School! Oh my gosh, I wanted to try that. It's like a game where you literally make art, and has like this AI that like judges your work, and it's wild. Wide Ocean, Big Jacket, Quadrilateral Cowboy, Gun House, and Fortune 499. Yeah. Lots of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So do it. If you haven't donated already.
Yes. Hopefully you have been donating if you are able to. If you're not able to, hopefully you have been sharing information, researching, getting involved in ways that you can, attending protests if you can.
We should put in that link of the YouTube that you can watch with like the ads that donate.
Yes.
I've had that on loop for a couple days.
There's a YouTube video that someone has made that if you watch it and don't skip the ads, all of the ad revenue goes towards different organizations, and the video itself has like some really cool information and stuff like that. So I will link that in the episode description.
Yeah. And just so you know, I know this has been a couple days now, but I think the Minnesota bail funds have been like, please send your donations elsewhere. We are so overwhelmed, which is a good thing. But do seek out other options if that is because I know lots of people have been linking that one because that's kind of where most of this began. So yeah.
Yeah. If you, we live near Toronto. If you're near there, there's the Toronto Black Lives Matter. There's the Toronto Bail Funds. Just find local Black businesses in your area. Support small businesses. You can, there's tons and tons. There's a Black Visions Collective, I think, is still taking donations. And I'll link all of those in the episode description as well.
Yeah. So next month, are we thinking probably music?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe music. Music would be good.
Music feels good.
Music feels right.
Feels right.
It sits well in my bones, music.
Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us for this Mumble Hour as we wrap up our first video game month. Woohoo!
Ooh.
So thanks for checking us out. Thanks for listening. Check out all the links in our descriptions for the things that we talk about during the podcast. I try to link all those. Follow us on Twitter at Mumble Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel that I will be better about putting videos on soon. Yeah. Check us out on most streaming platforms.
I think we're still not quite on Apple Podcasts quite yet.
No, I have not gotten the notification that Apple has let us onto their podcast
soon.
Yet, so
probably very soon. Our theme song is In Full Color by Louis Zong on the Here album. I think I kept saying EP before. It's not an EP. It is an album. But it's a bop and a jam, and it slaps so hard. It's so good. And you can check out his Bandcamp and check out his Twitter. You should check out his YouTube too. He does so much good animation stuff. He works on We Bare Bears, which is a good show. I love it. It's really cute.
It is a very good show.
And he's all around good.
He does a lot of animatics for like bits from My Brother and Me too.
Exactly.
Which are very good.
Sometimes if I'm just sad, sometimes I just go through his Bim Bam animatics and I just watch them all. Like I watch them all.
All of them.
All of them. They're serotonin boosters.
They are. Any Mobim Bim animatic is just an automatic mood booster. But Louis are especially very good.
They're so good. Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Stay safe. Stay politically active because it is our duty as global citizens to stay informed and stay involved. We love you. Have a good night or day or whatever time it may be wherever you are. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
なんだよ落ちてくれた I can't remember anything else, and that was not Japanese or anything remotely close to Japanese.